Well, it's a week late, but we're here. Guys, Alex, Patrick, how are you?
Good, thank you.
Good.
So I've learned my lessons. About this time last week, I put up a tweet saying we're going to be recording in 2 hours' time. And of course, for reasons, it didn't quite happen, did it? It didn't quite happen. And mostly, Alex, you have had a rough run of it, haven't you?
Yeah, it was out of my control as well. It was one of those things, right? We can't plan around accidents, and we had a bit of a issue here in the studio. Nothing too serious. Well, it is serious, but it's nothing.
I was going to say, for people who didn't see it on Twitter, just explain what went on.
Let's put it this way: I've got buckets still in the studio because if it rains at the moment, I have no roof, and it's not like it's not a convertible studio, but there's no roofing on top of the concrete, so any water comes straight down to the studio. So the carpet is ruined. Yeah, long story short, the whole thing, which I had redecorated recently, is going to have to be redone again. So more disruption. It's just it's been a couple of weeks of nightmare.
Yeah, water and electronics don't really mix very well, do they? And of course, your week hasn't exactly been straightforward, is it, Patrick? Software updates, but nothing to do with the studio. Kind of did for you.
Yeah, no, it's I shared that on Twitter too. My BMW decided to roll out an over-the-air update of the car, which I don't understand how they can think of doing that, because even most phones require you to be plugged in, right, so that nothing can happen. BMW thought it would be fine to do it over your phone, my phone in this case. So any kind of disruption in the connection and your update fails. And this is what happened. So my car just doesn't start. Can't do anything. BMW guy came over. He couldn't do anything. He had his little laptop with him. So they ended up towing it, and it's now at the dealership waiting to be hopefully revived.
And all you got so far is a bunch of flowers. Lovely.
I got flowers. Yeah. BMW apologizing. Exactly. We're sorry.
How long are you without it for? Do you know?
2 days now.
Such a pain. See, I've been lucky. I haven't had any major incidents, I don't think. I haven't had any floods. My car hasn't been bricked, so I'm going to just sit back and thank my lucky stars. Everything's been all right. So, as I said, we are kind of a week later than we initially planned. And since we did a podcast last, WWDC has been announced. I know we're not going to go too much because it's sort of old news-ish now, but do you think it's going to happen? Will we get the headset? Where are you guys thinking?
I think we might. The question is probably, do we care?
I do. It's what I'm making videos about at the moment.
Yeah, I did a video a while back when I thought it was coming out, and the interest was extremely low. People just don't care, it seems.
Yeah, there was I did a short yesterday. There was all these facts and figures saying that AR just isn't catching on generally, nothing to do with Apple, the way people had thought. And particularly now them bringing out a headset that's, almost twice as expensive as Meta's. It's like, right product, wrong time, possibly.
I've a couple of thoughts on that, right? One is, if not now, then when? Because they have to get in this thing, right? It's not going away. It's going to become a thing at some point. The other one is, I think, as Patrick has alluded to, what will people be using for? Which, when you think about it, if anyone can do it properly and revolutionize anything, is Apple. So there's a bit of hope, and maybe overly positive on my side, to kind of think, Google tried in 2015, I think, and failed because of concerns around privacy. So if anyone can do this properly, is Apple. But it does feel to me like, come on, guys, you got to get on it, because we need, the first version will be crap probably, and there's that whole 2-3 years of evolution that needs to come afterwards.
Yeah, I imagine they're going to try.
You do have a good point, though. It's sorry, I think there's a little delay. No, I was going to say you have a good point, because usually, when Apple adopts something and they decide to finally go for it, it does mean that they have faith in the fact that the technology has matured enough to do it, because they're not pioneers. They usually jump on it when it's ready. So
good followers.
Yeah. So let's see what it is. I saw Marquez testing one of the AR glasses. I don't remember which one, and everything seemed like a gimmick, except the one thing where he actually had 3 AR displays. So it looked like you have 3 massive displays. If that really looks, realistic, I could see myself using that maybe. But then again, when I'm at the office, you don't need the strain on your eyes, etc. So you probably end up using your regular setup anyway after the new toyness wears off.
Yeah.
Would either of you guys buy it?
Exactly. I'd have to, yeah. Mainly for the channel, but then it becomes like the watch, right? If something I like, I'll probably keep it, but I'll definitely buy it for the channel initially.
Yeah.
Because I imagine if we do see it at WWDC, it's just going to be a show, isn't it? And reveal. It won't actually be available probably end of the year, I guess, because they need to get developers on side with it, don't they?
Yeah, I don't know.
I guess that's
I don't know. I read this book ages ago. There's a book called, I think it's called Damon, and there's 2 or 3 chapters of it, so 3 books. And in there, I mean, this is like 10 years ago, if not more, but it was so real, like, because it was about getting notifications on your glasses. It was almost merging what you get in games. For example, now you can look at somebody, and if they are like your bank, for example, they'll see your credit or see your stats or whatever. A bit creepy, but I can see lots of opportunities for it to be used for, right? My calendar notifications to pop up and kind of out of the way, so I'm not constantly holding something or looking down at something, right? It's just kind of discreet on the side. I can see how it could really work and be elegant, but that's a dream at the moment.
I think the augmented version has got more than virtual. I think that's more chance with the augmented side of things. Yeah, Patrick.
Yeah, Patrick, you were saying something.
Yeah, I think that the 2-second delay is making us talk over each other. Sorry to the listeners. I was going to say that, this channel, Nikias Molina, right? He does mainly Apple stuff, if not only Apple stuff.
Yeah.
And he's been doing this thing in his latest videos where he has these little pop-ups of, his calendar messages and whatnot. He's basically displaying whatever his watch or his phone is telling him. And that's how I imagine it could be useful, having these AR glasses, like Alex was saying earlier, where you just basically get your little messages coming in. And if you could reply even, it could be useful, I think, and get real-time information about the stuff that you're looking at. But the flip side would be, the Big Brother element of it. And, we've been hearing about these social credit scores recently, and it's apparently in Asia, in some parts of Asia, they're doing it already, and it's creepy. It is very creepy, and I don't think I want people to know that much about me, and secondly, to use that in any kind of restrictive way.
Yeah, it shouldn't be readily available, right? It should be kind of contextual based, so that if I'm at the bank or if I'm talking to someone in relation to, I don't know, it could be even used for games, right? If you can see what level in a game you are, if we're playing the same game, and have a bit of a banter about it. There's loads of, again, great opportunities there, but it's all a bit fictional.
Yeah, we need to get the thing out and see what they actually do with it, don't we? I think there's been enough talking. That seems to be what's coming out of Tim Cook's mouth as well. It's like enough of the hoopla. Let's just get the thing out there. There's going to be haters. We know there's going to be haters. You're never going to get everyone agreeing it's a great product from the get-go. So it's a case of getting it out there.
And there's also, exactly. And there's also other companies, right? If they're not careful, I mean, Samsung have been doing some great stuff in the consumer smartphones and tablets for a few years now. If Apple don't hurry up, someone else, I'm sure, will
steal the thunder.
We'll get onto that.
So the last couple of podcasts, we've very much been talking about the kind of the business behind YouTube, and it seems to be going down really well. So I thought we'd carry on down that kind of route with what we're going to talk about today. And a couple of weeks ago, I mentioned to you guys beforehand what we're going to be talking about. And a couple of weeks ago, Alex, you sent through a graph to me showing about a video whereby you switched out the thumbnail and titles of videos. It's something I want to talk to you, Patrick, about as well, and just see where we sit on this. Because there's this school of thought. I mean, I've talked to some creators who just say, no, I never change it. What goes up stays up. And also there's this whole debate. It'd be lovely if YouTube Studio gave us the ability to A/B, which of course we can't. So if we start, let you start, Alex, talking about the graph that you sent me and what you saw happened after you changed the thumb and title on a video.
Yeah, definitely. Well, first of all, it doesn't always work, right? It's one of those things that I do pretty much as soon as I notice a downward trend, that the video is not doing as well as I expected, or I can see the CTR is low. There's signs in there that tells the creator you need to change something here, right? Because even if the content is great but is not searchable enough, or people are not clicking on it because there's something not popping enough in the thumbnail, then it prompts me to make a change. And pretty much every single video that's out there on my channel right now, the original thumbnail is no longer the one that's there now. But that one was an interesting one, because I picked up, I usually leave it like 2-3 hours, and I'd say don't change it immediately, because you never know, right? YouTube needs to gather some data from your current subscribers. But I say after 2 hours, if it's like super low, like below 10%, I normally change, because I go either the title or the thumb or both. And and in that case, it was almost like an immediate, I changed, I left for an hour. And I also, and I think that's kind of important to note, that in that example that I shared, I actually went on the community tab as well and shared a link to the video in there. So I think that prompted people, my current subscribers, to watch, and I can see where the views came from. But then immediately after that, the external view, or kind of the browser, what's it called? Whatever YouTube says it on the channel page, for example, browser features, I think it's called. That went up almost
browse features,
immediately after my community. So I think that kind of helps, that combination of title, thumbnail, and getting the community on board helps, because after then, that's the video I think that got 200,000 views now. That's the one that started really poorly.
And Patrick, what about you? How do you go? Also, when do you think of your title and thumb? Because when I came out to see you, I know you said a lot of the time your thumbs come as a still from the video that you're shooting, correct?
Yeah. At several points in my YouTube career, if you will, I've considered, finally starting to spend time on my thumbnails and making them first, and then the video, etc. And there's people that do it, and they do it quite well. We were just before the show, we were talking about This Is E, the channel. He's a very good thumbnail creator. I think one of the best in the game, to be honest. And I'm sure that he does them before the video. They look amazing every single time. Mine are usually, I forget, to be honest. So what happens is I grab a screen. I do spend a lot of time filming good B-roll. So I generally have at least 1 or 2 good images out of the 4K footage. It's crispy enough to grab a screen, throw it into Canva and play with it a bit. But it's usually 15 minutes, if not less. And it's definitely one of my weaknesses.
Titles?
But, regarding titles, I do think of them before. Yeah, those are, I think of them before. I have 1 or 2 usually. If they're sponsored, of course, it's a bit less flexible. But generally speaking, I have 1 or 2. I try to be a bit provocative. Sometimes I use clickbait. I'm very, a lot of people have issues with it. I don't. As long as you follow up, right? Don't lie in your title. But I do use clickbait in the sense that I just, use an enticing title about switching, or I'm looking at Alex now. Switching has been a bit of an insider joke recently. As long as you follow up with because people say, your titles are clickbait. Well, they're not, because people keep watching until the end of the video. And so obviously they got what they came for. They're not clickbait. They're just, I can't call a review, this is my review of product X, because it's boring and nobody will click on it. And there's a million of those titles. So you have to differentiate yourself a little in the title, and then follow up with good content. And if you do that, I think it's not clickbait.
Do you guys So I was just going to say, do you guys bring your titles into the first, 3 minutes of your narrative on a video? That's something I was listening to a podcast this week, and they said that's quite a useful trick. If you don't repeat it verbatim, but if you've got something in the title, in the first intro to hook in on that hook, just kind of allude to what the title was. Is that something you guys do?
Yeah, not for me, not so much the title, but the product I'm talking about that will be in the title. I mentioned that several times to a point where I find it repetitive. But I've heard that as well, that if you, at the very beginning of the video, the first 30 seconds, mention it a couple of times, the product name, that somehow helps SEO. I haven't really, I haven't matched that to a stat that I can say, yeah, this is when I started to do it and it works. But I do it because I think it makes sense. I don't know, Patrick, if you do that.
No, not consciously anyway. But I do have a formula, if you will, for my videos for retention.
Are you willing to share it?
Yeah.
I'm going to get my notepad out.
So no, it's I didn't invent it. It's just I think it's pretty standard. So in the first, my intros are so I have two intros basically. I have the one before my my little intro music, and then I have the intro after the intro music. But the one before is just me saying, I don't know, like, okay, I just did one on a Bluetooth speaker, and I genuinely think it's the best one I've ever heard. So I will say, okay, this is the best Bluetooth speaker I've ever heard. And if you think that's a lot of hyperbole, you're right, but it's justified. Let me explain why. Let's ramble. So people know what this is going to be about. It's a little bit like still a little mysterious. Then the intro music. Then I'll explain, okay, this is what we're going to talk about. This is the thing. I'm going to do this, this, and this. And at the end of the video, I'm going to do this. And then we'll get into it. And then throughout the video, and I know Alex does that too, I sometimes say, okay, so we're going to get to the sound test in a minute, but first this.
But
so
before we do that,
keep people on the hook. But it also, it helps structure the video a little bit. So it's not just, a hodgepodge, but there's an actual structure.
So this is something I wanted to bring up then. Do you think there's some kind of science to creating the script and the flow? I mean, we all know you've got to get that hook in early, and we know you've got very few, 15, 30 seconds to keep that retention going. But do you think there is almost a formula? When you guys are sitting down and writing your scripts out, do you kind of think in a structured way of what the content should be to drive people through the video?
I do now, yeah. I do now a little bit. So I shared this with you, right, David? I think I got that from another group that Patrick and I are in, where it was a few phrases that you can use as useful hooks, right? So like Patrick just exemplified there, before we talk about this thing, let's cover this other thing. And I found some amazing news about this feature, but before we get into that, all these things that kind of raise interest, and I kind of spread that across the script, and I read it back and I go, if I read something and I'm bored myself reading it, I try to kind of spice it up a little bit. Sometimes even in the edit, I will replace an entire scene with me going complete, basically re-recording what I said in the A roll, but in somewhere like sitting on the sofa or outside, just to kind of change the scene a little bit, and that helps. I mean, that I have seen since I started to do that. Obviously, it's a lot more laborious, but it does work with people. Just kind of, that's something different. Maybe I shouldn't click off immediately. And
I saw Patrick smile just a minute ago. It's true. You kind of know when you're recording whether you're actually hitting it or not, don't you? Kind of know if you're talking crap or if you're actually delivering. It's like you just said, if you're enjoying it, there's a chance that somebody else might enjoy it. It just works. I saw you smile when Alex was talking there, but it's true, isn't it, Patrick?
Yeah. Oh, that's very true. So what I do when I write the script, because otherwise it sounds like a paper, like a research paper. So I read it to myself. I basically say the words I want to say and I write them down. So just to explain a little bit what I mean by that, I recently started changing my scripts into articles for Medium, but it's a lot of work. The reason for that is because, well, the way you write an article is nice to read, but it sounds like crap if you say it out loud. It doesn't sound like a person speaking. It's an article. Mm-hmm. But the way I do a script is I even put in words like anyway, so to make it flow. And it's not necessarily, I don't necessarily read those words, but I put them in there so that it's actually what I would say. So I say the things and I write them down, and then I reread them, and then I say them out loud again. But then still, when you record it and you watch it back, you can still think sometimes, that sounds kind of douchey. I need to cut that out. Or it's boring, or it's, duplicating. So yeah, it's, I feel like I'm getting a little better at it. I don't need to cut as much. But yeah, it must flow, and it must be logical, and it must sound interesting.
Because I'm guessing the content of the script is going to have a lot to do with retention, isn't it? If you're managing to keep people engaged and wanting to watch and offering them something, and we all know leaving a carrot dangling as well is another good, I'll get to that later. That's always another driver to try and push people through, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we were chatting before the podcast, right, about one of my challenges this week has been to get a video out today. And it was a sponsored video. And in that sponsor segment, the entire video, sometimes, I don't do this for every single sponsor, but with some of them, I try to almost, fit the video into the sponsor ad or make the ad part of the video, if you like, right? So it's like, I might do a sound test or, a camera quality test or something like that, but using the ad read as that section. And this week, that wasn't approved. It was one of those things that you have to choose whether you share that with your sponsor or not. But in this case, I did. And it was just one of those things that it didn't work out. But I now have to almost redo, it's not a half the video, but it's a big portion of the video because you try, for retention. In this case, I try to kind of keep it interesting. And that means there's an entire product in that video that I'm going to have to remove because I can't, the ad doesn't make sense now. So, there's good and bad of trying to keep retaining. It's a lot more work. That's what I'm trying to say.
And that's kind of you're good at this. You're a pro because that, as you know, that I wanted to talk about it today. Also, the way to bring. I haven't got to it yet, but to bring sponsors reads and ad reads into your videos naturally, because I presume they could very easily be a car crash. You're sitting there merely talking about the latest Samsung, and then boom, suddenly you're off talking about, I don't know, a headphone stand or a phone case or something. Do you guys see that there's a big dip there with people with retention?
Depends. It depends. If it's like I'll do best Mac accessories or whatever.
That was your recent one, wasn't it?
Product. Yeah. No. Well, it's one of the recent ones. Yeah. And so those are good for product placement. And obviously, I need to like the product, but they can be sponsored depending on the product. So it makes sense then to integrate them. And I don't really see any dips there because it makes sense. It fits in the rest of the video. But if I do a video on whatever and I have I don't know, like a Squarespace ad or something like that, yeah, some people skip. And if there's a lot of views, then there's a lot of skips. So you can definitely see a little dip. I don't use chapter markers anymore because I think it kills the video.
Oh, really?
Yeah, even though YouTube started to make their own chapter markers and they don't really make a lot of sense most of the time. But I don't generally do that anymore. But yeah, people skip ads for sure.
Well,
I did find that as well.
You were just saying that this week you had a sponsor that sort of said no. So presumably what happens, you record the full video or just, I assume not just their read, and then you send them back the video for approval. And in this instance, they just said, no, we don't like.
There are no rules on this really. I mean, it's all about before you sign anything, right? This is things that you agree to. But in this instance, it's not that they didn't approve it. It's just they didn't actually get back to me on time. I had if I don't hear back on time, that means I can't take a risk and edit. Because I spend hours editing these videos, right? So I could be editing this video over a bank holiday right now, waiting for them to approve, and that means risking not uploading at all this weekend. So I'd rather remove the whole thing because they haven't got back to me. They might well approve it on Monday or Tuesday, but it will be too late.
So you'll just put up an unsponsored video, so it'd be the same video, but now you've obviously got to re-record the bits where you mentioned the sponsors.
I might squeeze. I mean, there's a queue of stuff that I have because of the issues that I've had here, right? I might squeeze something in there just that doesn't require approval, but it's not nice, right? It might feel like a break in the video, so I don't know. I have to think about it, but normally I would, like Patrick's saying, right? It's if it makes sense for the product to fit in whatever else that you're reviewing in that video, then fantastic. But otherwise, I've seen it. Those dips, I think Surfshark is a good example where it's really hard to integrate a VPN into a video that I make. So in those videos I see a huge kind of, you can see a little downward spike.
Even if you do integrate them, they're a tough sell because I don't know why, but probably because most people already have one, or they've tried one, or they don't think they need one. There's so many of them. And the thing is, there are ways to really integrate it. Like I did a best apps video once, and one app was about going on some public Wi-Fi and stuff like that. And then I was like, by the way, this next app is ideal for that, because if you do need to log on to a lot of coffee shop Wi-Fi, you need a VPN. So it flowed perfectly. People skip it because they don't care about the product, to be honest.
For me, it only works when I wear a wig or I make a double of myself. And I stole those ideas. I haven't come up with these myself. These are Peter McKinnon, right? If you've seen YouTube, you've probably seen one of his videos at least. He's the master of this, right? With his Squarespace Pete. So I totally stole that, and it definitely works. I have so many comments of people saying, I actually enjoyed the ad. I didn't even notice it was an ad. But as a sponsor, you're probably thinking, did I actually return any business, right? That's the other aspect of it. So yeah, I don't know. It's a bit of a dark art right now, whether you make it so entertaining that the ad is actually meaningless, it's not selling the product, or you just do an ad read and keep the sponsor happy. I don't know.
Because of course it is a two-sided coin. You're trying to keep the paymaster happy and also keep the viewer and the audience happy, aren't you? You want it to be entertaining, you want them to come back and watch more of your videos, you don't want it just to be an advert channel, but equally the bills to pay. So it's a really fine line to cross. Yeah,
one of our friends that Patrick and I interviewed for our other podcast said this once. Said something like, every time you do an ad, it's almost like going to the bank and withdrawing money, right? So you're going to your audience, it taking credibility. So it's if you kind of asking them to trust you that you've used this product and you actually genuinely like it, and it's a tricky one, definitely.
And where are you? I know we spoke a while back, Alex, but I mean, Patrick, if you're asked to do a completely sponsored video as opposed to just an ad read, that's an entirely at least a gain, right?
Yeah, I just did one just now. I finished it yesterday. I had a late evening once again, because they usually with those not all of them, but with a lot of the dedicated videos. So it's one product, one video for them, and usually you give them a draft and they check it. And in that case, I actually but I appreciate the fact that they check it, because every now and then it's a new product, so there's no other videos you can reference to. You only have a little guide about the features and stuff, so it's very easy to make a little mistake about a feature or to misspeak on something. So in this case, also I got an email back saying there's 2 points in the video. There's a little error where I set the type number wrong, and then the other one was please don't mention that because the product does this and it might confuse the viewer. So I took it out and I corrected the other one. And now the video, they didn't require me to send it back. They just said, fix that and it's good to go. So to me, that's perfect. But what was the original question again about these videos?
Well, how different is how keen you are to take on a fully sponsored video as opposed to just doing like a dedicated video?
Yeah. I mean, in this case, I really like these products. I think let's not say what it is. I don't want to be in breach of anything, but it's a product that I actually really think is great. It's really good. It's a good product. So I have no problem making this video, except for the fact that it's most likely not going to bring me in a lot of views. If it's not an iPhone or a Mac or something that's related to it very directly, exceptions here and there, but mostly it's not going to bring a lot of views compared to your core content. So I do these videos because I finance my other videos. We have to make money somehow, and these dedicated videos, they tend to bring in a bit more money than a little ad read. So I do these videos. Maybe the majority of my audience doesn't want to see it, and it's their right. They don't have to click on it. But it's those videos that enable me to make more videos that they do like and finance them. So I don't have to ask my audience for money. I don't do that. I don't have any, memberships or anything like that. And Yeah, so this is the way I pay for the other vids.
So kind of leading on from there, I was just going to chat sort of vaguely algorithmically. I'm sure it was Sarah Dietschy that I first watched and talked about this. The idea of doing, and it very much leads on from what you were just saying, actually, Patrick, with the dedicated videos, doing the one for me and the one for the algorithm or the one for the channel. So if you're sitting down and say there's something you really, really wanted to make a video on, but you figured, I could tank, but I'm really passionate on it. Do you go ahead and factor that into the production schedule? Or do you think, no, I've got to stay true to the algorithm? Or do you do it I think that's what she said, every fourth or fifth video, she would do something that she's at a level where she can afford to do it. But do you think that's a truism that, is something that creators should think about?
Yeah, I think so. I'm struggling with this right now because I said yes to a lot of things for various reasons, and it's great because it's growth and all that, and the growth is expensive, so we need to somehow finance it. But it means that I have a lot of commitments and a lot of deadlines, which is stressful, obviously, but that's part of the game. But it also means that there's a bunch of my core content that I really want to make that needs to wait. And so now I'm really trying to do this balancing act where I don't overload my audience with stuff they might not be that interested in. I don't make videos about crap or about stuff that I know they'll hate. But there's this product like the one I just told you about that I know that the majority of them will probably not be that interested in. So now I need to think between this one and the next dedicated sponsored video, I need to make sure that I have at least one or two videos that they will care about. Because the last thing I want is for them to think, why was I subscribed to this guy again? And then they just unsubscribe, or the algorithm starts thinking that my viewers don't care about my videos, because that's the other thing. If they keep dishing those videos out to my audience and they keep saying not interested, then they think that my channel isn't interesting anymore to my viewers, and I'm sure that has a negative effect on your on the browse features and the what do you call it? Not the views, the impressions that you get. So yeah, I think you need to balance that stuff out carefully.
Where are you on ads?
I think every week I face the same battle. I try to plan my content. I think Patrick as well. We will have kind of, if I look the next 3 months, I'll probably have content that I know for that week I need to do a video about something. But I consciously decided not to talk about a single brand or a single thing. It's kind of is a little bit too broad sometimes. I feel my channel, right? And it is a shame because I've got audiences there, thousands of people subscribed for my Apple Watch Ultra that I guarantee will not be interested in my S23 videos that I'm making right now. Equally, when Apple launches a new product later this year, those S23 people that again, thousands of people subscribed for that content are not gonna want to watch a video about an Apple device. So it's a tricky one, but I think in the long run, having that mixed, and as Patrick's saying, balanced, might actually work. I mean, I've started to hear a lot of people saying, and I've been doing this almost subconsciously, but I've been hearing a lot of these gurus talk about, right, of having pockets of content or buckets of content or whatever that people can come and choose, that they have an option, that it's not just a single thing that they come for your channel. But that, I think, will pay out later in the game. Not right now. It just feels like Patrick is saying, 1 week I just know the video I'm doing this week is about desk setup. I guarantee it will tank, but it's one of the videos that I really enjoy making. So it's probably the best type of video that I like making, about gear that I use. But,
Snap, I was just saying to my other half this morning, this week's video that I'm halfway through editing is a studio tour, and I feel a little bit grandiose, like me doing a studio tour, but I've actually got some nice kit around me now, and I just thought if people wanted to know how it all comes together, so I just thought I'm probably going to get, well, I was going to say my mum watching it, not true, but it's kind of like, no one's going to watch it, I'm sure, because who wants to watch me on a studio tour when they can watch Marquez on a studio tour? But it's something when we speak about the scripts early on, I know that I was better on it reading this week because it was something I really, really enjoyed, and I've put it together. I built that thing, so it's just one I wanted to make. Where it'll go, who knows? But
I agree. I have a studio tour coming up as well. It's been coming up since I've moved into this place, which it's been a while now.
And it is a lovely studio as well.
Yeah, it is, and it's evolving, and I'm super happy about it. I did one outgoing in my other one because when I was leaving the place, I was like, I still didn't do a studio tour, so I did one literally as I was about to move out, and surprisingly, it got 10,000 views, and 10,000 views isn't that much these days, but for that kind of video, I was surprised that it got even 10,000 views. The thing is with things like camera gear or studio tours particularly, I think so people that like to watch those are people like us that want to have some inspiration for their own studios. We don't have that audience, or at least I don't. So they don't watch my channel. And then the other people that would watch it are people that are really invested in you as a channel. They've been following you for a long time and they want to have a peek behind the curtains. Yeah. So that's not a huge audience. It's a small part of my subscribers, and then maybe a few people that are interested in the type of video, and that's it. So it's not going to do well, but that's a video that I really, really want to make. So that's going to be a passion project.
So all three of us kind of come together now, although we're feared that it might not do very well. It's the video we enjoy making. Also videos when someone, when you guys bring them out, I'll be sitting there watching and think, oh, look at that bit of kit. And because, when I've been to both of your places, I've looked around and thought, oh, that's useful. I think I stole, half of your studio, Alex, when I came to see you one time, but there was even the little monitor that I used. That was a great idea. The teleprompter that you've got, Patrick, I've got all of these things now. It's all from talking and sharing ideas and bounce around. You think, oh, that would really work, and that's a good idea. And the app that I use on the teleprompter, again, I think we all use the same one. But it's just those. So watching these videos to me is really interesting. Where do you go when you're creating? Something I didn't mention to you actually, but again, it might fit with what we're talking about: channel tags as opposed to video tags. If you're making, say, a video that's outside of your norm, would you change the channel tags to try and help the channel get found? Patrick's smiling.
Somebody reminded me about channel tags the other day. I went to check and they were very, very irrelevant because I put them in there at the very beginning, and they had little to do with what I'm posting these days. So I made some changes. I made it very generic, iPhone, Apple, Samsung, phones, whatever. I don't think they matter much at all, actually.
Same. Yeah.
I never look at them.
I did make a change about a year ago. Yeah, don't know.
And how about the video tags? Do you put much time and effort into those?
No,
just I
still do.
I'm wasting my time doing these things. I spend ages trying to find my tags.
I'm undecided about channel tags. So people, a lot of the gurus Alex just mentioned, they say they don't matter anymore, and people, it's just like a backup for YouTube to, if they need to double check if what the video is about. I don't know. This is one of those things that I just keep doing just in case. I don't want to have no tags and then find out that, oh yeah, they were actually relevant. But I don't spend a lot of time on them either. I do the video, and as I do my description, I go down and I just, from the top of my head, I put a few tags, and that's it.
How do you go about it, Alex?
Yeah, exactly the same. I mean, the channel tags, they've been there for a while now, but they are quite generic. I have revisited them because I think initially I actually put model numbers in there, so I removed those and kept it more generic. But the video tags, I look at the top videos. I mean, I don't think there's no harm in saying, right? I look at the top viewing videos for that type of content, and I literally copy them because if they're doing well, then I then add a few of my own. I add my channel name to all of my tags. Don't know why I do that, but
I've started doing it. But again, don't know why, but I've started doing that as well.
Yeah, I do too.
Yeah, and I think that's it. I mean, the one that annoys me is not a tag; is a category. In tech, we don't really have a tech category, and it pisses me off, right? Because I think every fashion, beauty, all of this stuff, they have their own category, and there's actually channel.
Is this where we put the lifestyle bit? It's always that lifestyle one, isn't it? That we put in as a tag.
I put science and technology is the one I use. I think that's the one you're supposed to use as a tech channel.
Which do you use, sorry?
Yeah.
Science and technology.
Right.
Yeah.
But
which,
yeah, I mean,
which is not really. I mean, it's not. I mean, there should be a consumer tech. In my view, there should be a consumer tech category.
It's a big enough category, isn't it?
Yeah, and I've seen. I mean,
yeah,
the
it would be
browsing.
like Neil deGrasse Tyson and us.
Yeah, exactly.
So
yeah,
something
anyway.
else that really interests me, I don't know how many other people it's going to interest, is the backing up procedure, archiving, storage. And it's something, again, I think I was either listening to a podcast or it's something I was watching. And it struck me, I was keeping everything, and it's no matter what size. Well, first of all, how do you guys back up? Are you on NASes, or how do you back up?
NAS now, yeah.
Yeah.
And are they pretty seamless?
Mostly B-roll, though.
Yeah. And that's what I've got around to. I sling away all of the project folders. I sling away all of the heavy effects and so on, the A-roll, even the finished video. And all I'm keeping now is any images I've shot and any B-roll shots. That's pretty much where you are.
I stopped collecting B-roll because the files are massive. And so even my big NAS drive was filling up very quickly. I never keep any library files or anything like that. I mean, I'm not about to re-edit a video. So basically what I'm doing now is I export twice my videos. Once for YouTube, which is the Apple 4K for Apple devices, because apparently that's the one that is quickest in processing. And I have to say it really is. And then I export it once more in full 4K, the computer format, I think it is, because it's a little bit better and, it's more universal. But that's all I keep. So all the B-roll footage, unless I know I'm going to use it again and I really need it, I just get rid of it. So when I need something again, I'll just cut it from a previous video.
Oh, I see. Right. Yeah. Where are you at?
Yeah, I keep a lot of my B-rolls because I overdo the B-rolls, and I know that for my next video about something, this is something that I started doing maybe in the last year, where I was like, oh, I wish I kept that footage, right? Because then I have to reshoot it. But so even if I don't end up using every single thing I shot for this video, I know for the next video I might use it. So I keep it. But what I'm doing now is like in IT. I mean, that's probably the benefit of working in that industry for so long, right? There's a system called father grandfather or something. So basically, as the backups get older, you replace the oldest with the newest. So you're not really keeping everything forever, but you're replacing the oldest with the new. So you're not. So maybe you kind of keep 2 years worth of stuff, and that way you don't need to kind of completely fill up everything forever.
What size NAS?
But I also have. I mean, I just bought.
Are they huge?
Oh, yeah. Those things are so expensive. I've got two.
Yeah, me too. I got two small ones. Really, because the first one was sponsored. I reached out to them and I said, "Can I do a video for you and you give me a NAS?" And the second one, but then I didn't realize that the real cost is in the actual storage drives. So the second one, the second time around, they sponsored me again, but they partnered up with Seagate and they sent me some drives too, which was great. So now I have I think, I don't know, 20 terabyte or something like that, which isn't, I guess, too massive these days,
not huge,
but it's enough.
No,
it's not huge, but
everything to do with video is just so big, isn't it? The storage is so
especially
immense.
if you want to create some redundancy, then it's definitely not that much. But that's why I don't keep all the B-roll, because I've noticed that I really don't use it, and every time I wanted something, I would just find my video and cut it out, because it's good enough, and it was just a waste of my space. But then again, when you look at people like Matti Hapoya, who swears by keeping every single piece of footage, and he does these amazing time lapses of progression over 10 years. That's a bunch of work. I'm sure he does. But yeah, that's really cool. So that makes you think, should I keep everything? But no, I'm not going to.
It's the organization as well, right? So keeping it is one thing, but then finding it later is another completely different, right? So unless your folder structure is from the start properly set up, it can be quite pointless to keep the files, because you go, right, what is 6, 7, 8, 9 point mov? What is that? But if it's in a folder structure, that makes sense.
And really going through the weeds, where do you actually edit from? Do you edit from your desktops or from NASes or externals? during that
everything.
week when you actually working on it?
I used to edit from a really fast SSD. It was very fast at the time. But since the M1 MacBooks came out, the SSDs on those things are so fast that I decided to just buy a little more storage than I usually do, and then just edit from the hard drive. It's so fast.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm doing.
I prefer that.
It just stays there all week.
I do
I
the
edit on it
same
all
for
week
the
and then
last.
archive.
Yeah, I'd say for the last 5-6 videos, it's on the hard drive, and then again, same system. Those 5-6 videos. Once I'm done with them, they go to something like this. I just bought an extra one, so it's not completely archived yet, but it's easily accessible on
and
something that's close to me here.
Some of the elements we've been talking about, as in file size, storage, uploading, and also the algorithm. Just before we start recording, we were speaking to you, Alex, about your 8K videos that you've done. And that kind of encompasses everything we've been talking about today. I imagine the file size must be freaking enormous. How long do they take to upload? How do you upload 8K?
Well, just for context, right? So the 8K videos that I'm recording, they're a smartphone 8K, so they're not really like coming out of a Blackmagic, camera or a Red or anything like that. I wish, but they're still quite big. They're actually, funny enough, they're not as big as my Sony camera, which records 4K video. So because I'm recording 10-bit and I'm recording log, so I'm doing all sorts of things with it later with color grading, but. So yeah, they are big enough though. I think I generated about 200 clips in a day. I just went to London for a couple of days, and I think it was about 100 gigs worth of files, kind of 10-15 clips. You can't really, with 8K, they do kill your battery as well. But yeah, the problem is, is how do you get that footage out of your phone once it's there, right? With Apple, you've only got one choice really, which is using a cable, because AirDrop wouldn't work; it's too big. I did the same with Apple actually a few months ago with ProRes, 4K ProRes footage. Same thing, right? It was really hard to get the footage out of the phone later, but so that was the first challenge. With the Samsung, what I did, and that is a combination of being on a good 5G network. So I just literally come to the studio, let the phone sync to Google Cloud, and then download it from Google Cloud, and that happens in less than 10 minutes. So that's kind of step one. Once you got through that, then it's the edit, which was actually a breeze. But exporting, Final Cut Pro doesn't like 8K, so you have to I forgot a compressor, I think it is, which is £50 on top to be able to export in 8K. And YouTube, then processing on YouTube is quite hidden. You have to go through a few Google documents to find out what the exact. There's a kind of a banding between the amount of bit rate that you have to be acceptable for them to process 8K, and even the aspect ratio. So I like to use 2:1, because 2:1, when people watch on their mobiles, which is pretty much 90% of the people, on 2:1 they don't see any black bars on the side. On 16:9, they'll see the black bars on the side, right, when they're watching it in landscape. But in 8K, you can't do 2:1. And I discovered that this week or last week. Have to be 16:9.
So when you say Final Cut doesn't like 8K, is it all 8K or the 8K that came out of the phone?
It's not you can edit 8K, no problem. It's the exporting in 8K. You export in a low bit rate. To export in at the bit rate that YouTube wants, which is a high bit rate, I think it's between 160 and 220. You need to use compressor, which is I think is a con really, because you pay a lot of money for Final Cut. So all I do is I still have Premiere Pro, and Premiere Pro is you just tell what bit rate you want, and it exports in that bit rate without any additional software. So that's I need to make a video about it, because I was trying to find this myself. And I know like people like Marquez, right? All his videos are uploaded in 8K, I believe, and people like iPhone do as well. But no one documents it. There's no video about exporting in 8K using Final Cut Pro.
No, you should definitely make one about it, because you've done the hard work. Is 8K somewhere you're
going to be a boring old video there.
And Patrick, do you think 8K's, well, it's the hardware, isn't it? If you're going to get genuine 8K, it's going to be a big chunk of money.
You mean the camera?
Yeah, if you were going to shoot in 8K, is it something that you're thinking of, or?
Yeah. No, I mean the R5 has 8K. I've never used it. I think once only to see what it looks like. I mean, it has 8K. It's not ideal for 8K. They fixed most
Long
of the
form, yeah.
overheating issues, but I'm sure it will overheat at 8K, and the files are just insanely large. There's no way. I mean, I would fill up my memory card in minutes. So
Yeah,
it's not something I want to do. And also, I don't really see the added value currently because
because it still gets compressed,
even
doesn't it?
4K gets
Yeah.
it gets
Yeah, and
compressed
the
really
TVs are
badly.
not.
So I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
mean, even if the TVs are, I wonder if YouTube's 8K looks like real 8K when it gets to your TV.
That's the thing. It always
Yeah,
makes me smile
yeah.
when people do sort of, tests holding up microphones to a speaker or something. But not only is it a poor way to try and relate audio, but equally, by the time it goes through all of the compression, any audio we hear is going to be so different to
Yeah.
what's actually coming out. I know it's good for the view because it makes you think you're kind of in the space you're listening to, but we've all got to realize it's a little bit of make believe going on, isn't it, with the whole thing?
Yeah. What I have done for those videos, and this came from one of the comments in my original video that did really well. Someone said, "Can you upload the original footage so we can have a pixel peep ourselves?" And I thought it was a good idea, so I did that as well for this videos. I uploaded not everything, but I just created a Google folder and said, right, if you want to really have a look at what 8K looks like coming out of the phone using, without any barriers of compression and TVs or whatever, as the best possible way, just download the original file. But yeah, there's not that many TVs or monitors that can do 8K, and you have to be. I was reading a lot about it. Right? You have to be at a certain distance as well for 8K to be acceptable by your eyes. So to see the that amount of pixels, you have to be quite away from the screen. So it's not in every living room or every monitors that is going to make sense.
And sort of bringing everything together, I was going to talk about videos that we've enjoyed and video and performance of. When I was watching your New York video, Patrick, really loved it. That was, I know you don't do many vlog style, which that was approaching, but it was a really entertaining. I mean, just it was like a day out, basically. You kind of felt like you're tramping around New York City for a day, which was really cool. So presumably that was one that you just had on your board you wanted to do. That falls into that category of it was one I wanted to make.
That one's it has its own category, I think, because it wasn't really a vlog either. It was more like a voiceover, I guess, because I really am not a vlogger. I like my stuff scripted. I look awkward when I hold my phone up. It's not my thing. Maybe one day, but not right now. So in New York, I just shot. I did think about what I wanted to shoot, but I just shot random footage, and I thought, just do the shoot whatever thing, and then toss it all into a big file and see later what I'm going to use and how I'm going to string it together, probably by a voiceover, which happened to be the way I went about it. But it's been, so it was last August that I filmed all of that. And I've been wanting to make it, but I thought, not now or later or whatever. And I ended up not making it until a couple of weeks ago, I did an update video on the iPad mini. And I saw that it still got a lot of attention, and I used some of that New York footage in that video, and I asked people, if you want to see the full New York thing, let me know, and got a bunch of comments. Oh, we really want to see the trip. So I thought, just sit down for a day and just do it. And I did, and it's doing all right, actually. It's getting some views. It's almost 50K.
You saw Nando as well, right?
So yeah, I met Fernando. It was really cool. Yeah, so I owed it to him too, because he came all the way out to film some stuff with me, and I just had to do it. It was just me being.
It was a great video.
Yeah, I really enjoyed
I procrastinated for almost a year.
And then with you, Alex, we're talking about your 8K ones. You've had one that's performed a month ago, 200,000. And then one from this week that seems to be sort of slow on the pickup. And why? There's such similar videos.
I think timing, is everything, right? So when I did the first one, it was almost, I didn't plan it at all, but it was good timing. It was the week after, I think, the phone was released. There was a lot of people still searching for it. And to see something like that, there was not many videos of that. But now there's, I think Peter Lindgren did one. There's quite a few people already done 8K. So if you're interested in this phone, you've likely seen some 8K footage already on YouTube. So I think there's an element of, is not new anymore. It's not. There's nothing. People have seen that stuff already. But also, I don't know. I think it doesn't. The algorithm sometimes, it doesn't make a lot of logical sense. I mean, it is exactly the same video. By everything
metrics.
That you go, that one did really well. Even the title is the same. The thumbnail is the same. It's just
it's the same, got the same
8K
angle, isn't it? The whole thing, it's that's the thing. It looks so similar. I was just looking at it last night, thinking, why? What's going on?
Yeah, that's the thing. I've experienced that too with. So there's a couple of recurring things on my channel. One of them is best apps, and one of them is best accessories for whatever, iPad, iPhone, whatever, Mac. And so some of the best accessories for iPad are doing really well, maybe 250,000 views or more even.
Oh.
And then I do the exact same video 6 months later with different products, obviously, but similar, very similar style, similar type of products, even similar thumbnail, 10K stuck.
Yeah.
So there's no way of predicting these things, and it's what Alex said too. Timing is everything. And if you can manage to make videos right after a release, or you're unique, like the 8K thing, that's just like, it's a big, huge hit, but you can't really reproduce that.
Exactly. I mean, I've seen some. Yeah, I've seen some stuff like stuff that don't do well initially, and I've done maybe 2 or 3 videos about best SSDs. Funnily enough, we were talking about earlier, and it was only the last one I did, which again didn't start really well. I mean, for 2 months, it was like one of those less than 10K views, but now it's carrying the channel right now. It's 4,000 or 5,000 views every 48 hours or whatever. And people are buying that stuff, right? And it's just, I'm almost scared of making another one, because that's, again, it's gone past 200,000 now. And I'm thinking, I should make another one, right? Because it's just playing to the algorithm. But I'm scared of hurting that one, because that one is just ticking over.
It's kind of said all you can say on it.
The exact same experience with the SSDs. I did the exact same thing, and it was also very slow. And then a long time ago, by the way, 2.5 years maybe. And then it picked up, and it's one of my best performers. I think it's at 500,000 views now.
Well, I guess it's almost evergreen, isn't it? People are always going to want SSDs.
It's until they're out of date, of course. And the first video now is starting to be there. It's the T5, I think. That's getting a bit old. But it's done well for a long, long time, and it is evergreen. And it also really helps your affiliate Amazon income go up a little bit, because those things are, you really do notice. But I just wanted to really come back to some of the stuff we said in the beginning about thumbnails, because that's the one reason why I'm not too keen on changing thumbnails. So I'm sure sometimes it can help, especially at the very start, when a video is doing poorly and you see that nobody's clicking, and you change it to something really bright, then it might help. But for the reason that sometimes a video just takes a month before it catches the algorithm or the audience, if you will, and then it just goes off, even though the thumbnail has a very low click-through rate, or the title, you don't know if it's a thumbnail. So I don't generally change them, because it might pop off at any moment.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing that I've not learned about, is patience. Yeah, you just saying.
In some videos, there's not that many in my channel, but there's one video that YouTube randomly picks, this video that I did over 2 years ago. It's about AirTag, but I don't know. I was off on one. I didn't have a script, back then. It's just a ramble, and every single day, thousands of people are watching that thing, and I'm like, please stop! It's cringeworthy, and it's one of those I want to hidden, but people are watching, right? So,
and actually, you just mentioned affiliates, Patrick, because the nature of the video I'm putting out, hopefully this weekend with the studio, and there's a lot of stuff that I've either been sent or bought. I've actually bothered to get the affiliate program going, and you guys say that does have a decent rub, yeah.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, depends on the products. So I've got my Amazon thing set up. That's always a couple of hundred, I would say. Until it's December, and then it might spike. But it's not something that will, it's not massive income. It's always a little bit of extra.
Yeah.
But there are these products that if you get a little affiliate deal with the brand, like 10, 15% of the sale, and the video does really well for some reason, like this little cable set that I really liked, and I thought I didn't promise them a video. I promised them a little integration into another video. But then I thought, this is really cool. Why not make a little, off the cuff video, 6 minutes of this little cable set right before Christmas,
Those are the best.
and it got crazy views, like 260,000 views for a set of cables, and they sold like hotcakes. So that was a nice little bit of unforeseen income for sure.
Around Christmas as well.
So yeah, affiliates it can definitely be worth it, I'd say, depending on on the time of year mostly.
Yeah.
And do you find much the same, Alex? Are they a nice little bit of sort of passive income in the background?
Not to the level as Patrick, I have to say. Patrick is the king of affiliates. I've kind of jumped on a few good ones. I mean, the monitors that I reviewed recently, so the gaming monitor is doing well, and the SSDs, I have to say. Initially, I think in my first year, there was only one thing doing well on my channel, which was cases, funnily enough. So mouse cases, they sold like a lot through my channel, and I made quite a bit of chunk, more than AdSense ever paid me, through commissions on those sales.
Yeah.
But yeah, those things are very seasonal, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. There's a few things that I'm hoping it will work. I mean, I think Patrick and I are both working on a gaming setup. Again, just destined to tank. But I want to persist on that, because those things, if they the brands kind of like the content and they start to invest in the channel, there's some really cool brands out there. And again, there's more opportunities for those. One, more pockets of content. Two, more affiliate opportunities.
And just before we sort of draw a line on it for this podcast, I was just going to chat about the benefit of Twitter. It seems to be as strong as ever at the moment, and I'm really finding the more effort you put into it, it's kind of building another community away from YouTube, isn't it? And it seems, again, it's one of those things, the more you feed it, the more you play with it, the more you give to it, the more feedback you get from it, equally being seen by brands and so on. So does Twitter sort of figure, broadly speaking, into both of your plans when you're working away on content of a week?
Go on, Patrick.
Well, for me, Twitter is a bit of a strange one. So first of all, I'm not that active on social media. Twitter probably more than any of the other ones. I always have these plans of being more active on Instagram or TikTok or well, not TikTok anymore, but Instagram. I've had this, I'm going to do this strategy now. I'm going to grow there. And I still want to do that, but I don't have the time. And that's the last thing on my list, so it never gets done. Twitter to me, it isn't really, I don't think it's really adding much to my channel, other than sometimes it's easy to reach out to brands via Twitter, because that's where they are sometimes, not always. But to me, Twitter is more like a hangout. Most people that are in my feed are other creators. And it's like, for me, going on Twitter is like catching up on what my buddies are doing, much more than anything else. It's not, I don't often post videos on there, or I don't reach out to many people. It's just like chatting and, hey, who else is editing late today? Stuff like that.
Yeah,
Community.
I 100% agree with that. I think there's an element of, I go in there and I can be a little bit extra silly, and there's a bit of a venting platform as well for me. But in our niche, and this doesn't happen in other niches now, I've got like a business account for something else. I go to Twitter, and it's almost like going to a completely different world in Twitter terms. But in the tech world, there's a lot of bitching about, right? So I go in there just to see, who's fighting with who in the tech world. But I don't get involved. I tend to avoid all of that. I have heavily filtered Twitter, so I can see only stuff that I care about and people I care about. One of our fellow creators, RJ, is the king of it. He does it on purpose, and he works. I've tested his method. You go in there and you post something about an iPhone. In the old days, when you could say actually sent from Android, it was the best tweets from RJ are those like dissing the iPhone and then sent from my phone or vice versa with the Android. And those stuff work, but you never know who's really signing up to follow you. I mean, if you go into my followers, like, who are these people? And why are they here? A lot of them are friends and people who are in the same niche, but a lot of people are just there because they are loyal to a certain brand and liked a tweet that I've where I made fun of someone else. So it's kind of, it can be divisive and get a lot of followers. But I'm not sure, like Patrick's saying, what's the point of that? What are they adding to your arsenal?
I also feel that Twitter can be a bit dangerous, because to me, like, if I have to compare Twitter to a real life situation, I would say it's kind of a high school scenario. Where people, it's a bit of a popularity contest. It's a bit of a pissing contest sometimes. I can say that, right?
You say that.
And it's like I get sucked into it sometimes. I get if you catch me on a bad day, I can get really cynical on Twitter. Sometimes borderline vulgar. I've had to delete a tweet or two. And the issue there is that I don't really, it's not that I said stuff that I wouldn't say again, but I don't want brands to go and research me and then find tweets where I am being very cynical. It's not probably not what they want to be associated with. So, and we have to remember that we are online and we are building visible, a brand, and that's part of your brand. So you need to be careful. And I'm mostly referencing myself now.
No, I'm on the same boat. And actually, when we were talking about thumbnails at the very beginning of this podcast, right, I'm consciously going back and going, certain thumbnails did a brilliant job for me to get views. And as a small channel, sometimes that's what you got to do, right? And almost cross the line between clickbaity and vulgar or maybe obscene. I mean, it's not completely like, there's no blood or someone killing each other in my thumbnails, but I said some stuff like, Apple, same shit. I
remember
and
that
it's
one,
like that pretty much closes the door for a lot of sponsors. If I'm kind of on the other side of the room looking at my channel, going, I'm not sure this guy is something I want to be associating with. So it's definitely something we got to be careful with online. And I've actually gone back and changed a few thumbnails because it's like,
because our history's out
as a
there.
business, you've got to be careful with some of the stuff. It's it doesn't change how, if you go in the video, and it doesn't change how I felt or the stuff that I said in there. I wouldn't change that, but there's definitely subconsciously people might go, hang on, that's a bit too much or too risky, right, to get involved with this person because of what he said.
So guys, I think we've covered a whole lot actually on this one. It's been another interesting one. So content-wise, what are you guys hoping to get out over the weekend? Well, you're relying on a sponsor, or maybe not, Alex.
Yeah, no, that's not going to happen. So I'm still just doing today. I'll do probably another hour of recording a few B-roll shots. I don't know if I can see for people on the audio. I'm sorry, but on the video you see there's a desk there. I'm pointing at.
Let me just open it up. Hold on. Let's have a look.
Full screen.
There we go. Yeah.
So that desk over there.
Yep.
Is a desk setup I'm working on for the M2 MacBook Air.
Right.
And then that desk over there, my son was there.
Another one.
Is the gaming setup, and that's. I'm not going to do anything on that today, but this weekend is about the M2 MacBook Air desk setup. And
I've lost the ability to find my other pictures now. So at the moment, you're carrying the screen for the moment. Oh, there we go. No.
Okay.
It's by you for the moment, Alex. I've lost all the ability to. You're purely solo. So Patrick, I can bring you in solo. I think I've lost the ability to get the three of us. But anyway.
Yeah. What's going to be your better looking than me?
What's going to be your next video, Patrick?
Well, it's a little ironic. I told you I just finished the sponsored video, but that's was a little bit of a misunderstanding because I thought it was 10th of February or earlier, and I'm pretty sure that's what it said. But anyway,
all right,
it is the 10th, so I now can't post it this weekend. But I've been sitting on these PC parts now for more than a week and almost two, and I've been dying to build this thing, but. No, they're not cheap, but I have to film it, obviously. I can't just go and build the thing and then, I need footage. So I had to wait. Yeah. And now finally, the first day in 2 weeks, I think I have time. So I'm going to spend the next few hours filming myself, unboxing, and hopefully building this thing. So I can actually start using it.
The things we spend our days doing, yes. Getting them at night. What have you been doing? I've just been looking at myself all day, yeah. It's the weirdest thing. So I think I'll get this one sorted then. We'll get the audio and the video out, and it should be up for the weekend. And guys, thank you very much for joining me. It looks like it's nice. What's it like where you are today, Patrick? It looks beautiful here, but
I'm looking at sound blankets. I have no clue what it looks like outside.
Oh yes, I'm talking about plagiarizing ideas. Yes, both of your sound blankets. I also have those at my studio now as well, and they were a good buy. Yeah. They really are a brilliant buy.
They are.
Right.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much indeed. Oh, and podcast will be out this weekend. Audio, video, all that stuff. And check out Alex and Patrick for their latest videos as well. Guys, been brilliant chat. Thank you.